Now for the Aries rising people, obviously with Saturn ruling the 10th house of career and going into the Lagna in degradation is surely a watch out placement, because here your stature, your designation, your standing in society, your respect all may come down because of something wrong that you do, or wrong decision that you take, or maybe a wrong trajectory that you take in your career. So at least in the initial years of your career, this is surely a watch out placement, as the 10th lord of career as well as the 11th lord of wishes and desires is going into the Lagna itself in degradation. Secondly, Saturn still being the 10th lord going into the 3rd house of effort and going away 6 places from itself surely will mean that you will have to put in harder effort. This is not a troublesome placement, however, this is at least a placement where later on in your life, many of you may think about starting your own ventures. There may be breaks in career. However, with the number of people I've seen that after their 30s, late 30s, many of them start something of their own, maybe even business or maybe social media platforms. Surely this is a placement to go at your own later stage in life rather than early. Then Mars being the Lagna lord, also the 8th lord going in degradation in the 4th house and aspecting your 10th house surely can be a challenging placement where domestic issues or how you don't take care of your domestic issues at home can create unnecessary issues because of the bad environment at home, and career may also get affected. So this is surely a watch out placement, a slightly serious one, because it's the Lagna lord which is going into degradation in the 4th house of assets and aspecting your 10th house of career. Then the 10th lord Saturn going into the 5th house. Now this is, while on paper this is a good placement because one Kendra lord is going into another trine house, it's a Raja Yoga placement surely. But what this does is, this sometimes delays the rise of people or growth of people. It's not a bad placement, but it may give you a slow rise, especially because Saturn rules the 10th house and has placed 8 houses away from itself in the 5th house of change in career. So many times change in career may be delayed because of you not having enough energy to be able to push for change. And then obviously Venus ruling the 2nd house of income and livelihood and going into the 6th house in this degradation, where it's also the 7th lord of teamwork, partnership, working with others, and going into the 6th house of service. So surely this can be a slightly challenging placement for people, especially where you're pushing for income or pushing for livelihood when you're working in a team environment. Then Jupiter ruling the 9th house of gains as well as the 12th house, especially of foreign lands, foreign companies, MNCs, as well as waste and excess, and going into the 10th house and its degradation. So gains from career may be slowed down and sometimes you may not take wise decisions. And then carrying on with the 10th lord Saturn going 12th house from itself into the 9th house. Again, this is actually a Raja Yoga placement. However, this means that many times you may not be able to derive the maximum benefits from your education, because the 9th house is the house of education and the 10th lord Saturn has gone into the 9th house. So it is giving stagnated results from education, or you may not be able to get the maximum results from your education. So many times I see with these people, they start off their career in the line of the education qualification, but later on in life they may do something which is very, very different and not directly linked to the education qualification as well. Now for Taurus ascendant natives, again, as I said at the start of the video, in the introduction of this video, these are not disastrous results or results which you should be very fearful of, but these are results which are the watch out results for your rising sign. So Saturn being the 10th lord, also the lord of the 9th house of gains, and then going in degradation in the 12th house is surely a challenging placement, especially if you are working in foreign lands, wanting to go to foreign lands, or working with foreign clients, or working in late hours, or working in those institutions where you have a solitary role or role which is connected to the armed services or connected to MNCs or foreign companies or to hospitals or clinics. So this is surely a slightly tricky placement for Taurus ascendant native. Then Saturn still ruling the 10th house going into the 2nd house of income. Here Saturn is still a pretty strong placement. The only challenge here is sometimes the person may be in dual mind because of going into the Gemini sign and may not be sure of what decision to take or what decision not to take. So sometimes they delay decision making, they delay change in career, they delay asking for promotion and growth. So that's why many times for Taurus ascendant natives, 10th Lord Saturn going into the second house in Gemini means they get delayed results, stagnated results or late results in their career. So this is surely a watch out placement for them. Then Saturn ruling the 10th house as well as 9th house of gains and being the Karaka of career and going into the 3rd house of effort, but in the Cancer sign. So this is surely a slightly challenging placement for Taurus ascendant natives, because Saturn going into the 3rd house of effort, which means your efforts may not bear as much fruit in your career as you wish it to be. And this is also a placement where later on in life the person may want to go it alone rather than continue to work under somebody. So this may be a slightly tricky placement if you don't know how to channelize your effort in the right direction. Then Venus being the ruler of the Lagna, being the Lagna Lord, as well as the ruler of the 6th house of service, and then going in degradation in the 5th house of change. Why change? Because the 5th house is the 8th house to the 10th house. So surely here it means that many a times looking for change, pushing for change, not dealing well with the power houses or the authority figures may end up not taking the right decision, especially change is concerned. Sometimes you may leave a good job, a stable job, just because your aspirations are not being fulfilled, and that change may not be the best for you for a long-term growth. So you need to be careful when you make the change. This is not a disastrous result. This is still a pretty good placement because the Kendra Lord or Lagna Lord has gone into the 5th house. So this is strongly a Rajyoga placement as long as you are able to derive the benefits from it. The only challenge being the Lagna Lord and the 7th and the 6th Lord going in debilitation in the 5th house. Then Moon ruling the 3rd house of effort and going into the 7th house in debilitation. This could mean that your efforts in teamwork could face a challenge where many times you may become over emotional or over sensitive with your team members, because of which there may be challenges connected to working in a partnership, working in a team. So be a little careful. This may also be a challenging placement where you're working in a partnership in your own business, in your own enterprise, or doing something online as an influencer or in the social media. Then Mercury being the Lord of the 2nd house of income and the 5th house of change of career, and then going in debilitation in the 11th house of wishes and desires and working for large organizations. So this can be a slightly tricky placement and challenging placement where your livelihood is concerned, income is concerned, and also where change is concerned, because change may be slow or not be coming by. So this is slightly tricky placement surely for Taurus ascendant natives. A watch out placement as long as you are taking care of these small things that I have pointed to you about. Then for Gemini ascendant natives, firstly Mars being the ruler of the 6th house of service as well as the 11th house of working in large departments, working with intra-departmental connections, and then going in debilitation in the 2nd house of income. So connected to service, income may be something which you don't get the best out of. You may be able to do very well, you may be able to get acknowledgement from your superiors at work also. However, the income that you are expecting, the livelihood that you are expecting may not be the best or concerning the effort that you put in. So surely this is a watch out placement, or you need to be more careful what jobs you are taking up, what roles you are taking up, connected to especially whether there is a fruitful chance of getting increments or getting proper acknowledgement for your labor over a period of time. Then Sun being the ruler of the 3rd house of effort and going into the 5th house of change, because the 5th house is also the 8th house to the 10th house, and in debilitation, which means your efforts may not bring up enough change or enough opportunity for change to move up into a better career, into a better role, into a better organization also. So this is surely a watch out placement, how much of your efforts are bearing fruit for you to be able to move up the career ladder. Then Moon being the Lord of the 2nd house of income and livelihood, and then going in debilitation in the 6th house of service. So in service, however hard you try, sometimes the best of increments or livelihood may also elude you. So you need to be a little careful what kind of roles that you're taking up, how you're dealing with the powers that be. Then Jupiter being the ruler of the 10th house and then going into the 6th house and in Scorpio sign, which means you may not have the wherewithal or the wisdom to deal with inimical forces acting behind your work, behind your back, or competition which is acting behind your back. So this is surely a placement you need to be watching out and being more careful about. This is also related to teamwork, which means in a teamwork environment in your career, you may end up facing too much competition because of your inability to act wisely in tough situations. And similarly, Jupiter going in debilitation in the 8th house while ruling the 10th house of career. This can also be a slightly tricky placement because Jupiter is also the 10th lord and the 7th lord of teamwork and going into the 8th house of obstacles, challenges. So sudden issues in your career can lead you to even have a bad name at work or lose money also in terms of being asked to work overtime and not being given the fruits of your labor or being given more responsibilities than what you started off with or what your job description was. And then Jupiter going in the 12th house from the 10th house of career and going into the sign ruled by Saturn. So now this is not a bad placement for Jupiter because Jupiter is still strong in the 9th house, but this is not a disastrous placement but surely a watch out placement for Gemini ascendant natives. So as long as you are taking care of these small issues where you are taking care that you are careful when you are making the job change, when you are negotiating for salary, how you are dealing with your superiors, this can be a placement which can be sorted out in the long run. Firstly, for Cancer ascendant natives, the 10th lord Mars going in debilitation in the Lagna itself. This can be slightly tricky placement because of two reasons. One, Mars rules the 10th house, but Mars also rules the 5th house. The 5th house of change, power, opportunity, and going into the Lagna in debilitation. So this is surely a watch out placement because this is also a very severely Mangalic placement for Cancer natives. Then same 10th lord Mars going into the 12th house in Gemini sign. Gemini sign is a dual sign. It can leave you more confused what decisions to make, what decisions not to take in your career. Sometimes you may end up working in an MNC but not negotiating enough for a better salary, for a better role, or some of you may even go abroad but maybe in dual minds which job to take, which job not to take. Many of you may go for higher education, getting high qualifications and then work, and so the initial period can be slightly tricky for you. You may take time in settling down in your new job, and so this is surely a watch out placement of Mars, the 10th lord, in the 12th house. Then Sun ruling the 2nd house of income and going in debilitation in the 4th house of assets, but also aspecting your 10th house of career. Sun never does very well in the 4th house in any sign. Here it is the lord of the 2nd house of income and going in debilitation and aspecting your 10th house. So surely many times your household domestic issues can take up so much time that you are not able to get the maximum focus at work, or domestic issues or family issues can keep you away from giving your maximum productivity at work. So this is surely a watch out placement for you. Then Moon being the Lagna lord and going into the 5th house in debilitation. The 5th house is the change house because it is the 8th house to the 10th house. So surely this is a placement where if you don't take the right changes at the right time and make the right moves for the right reasons, then the change may not be productive. In fact, it may be counterproductive because your Moon is in debilitation while being the Lagna lord. So this is surely a watch out placement for Cancer ascendant natives where due diligence has to be taken before making a change in your career, before making a change in your job. Then Jupiter ruling the 6th house of service going in debilitation in the 7th house of partnerships, in the 7th house of teamwork, while also ruling the 9th house of gains and aspecting your Lagna as well. So surely this is a slightly tricky placement where you need to be aware of how you will deal with your team members, how you will be able to use your education qualifications for better results. Then Saturn being the ruler of the 7th house of partnership, teamwork, as well as the 8th house of effort, obstacles, challenges, and or thwarting in effort rather than effort, and then going in debilitation in the 10th house of your career. So many times in your career you may not be able to deal well with people, even superiors, and getting acknowledgement or appreciation from your superiors may not come by easily. And so many times sudden issues at work may spoil things for you or may put you in a situation where many times promotions may not come by easily to you. Many times I've seen with For Cancer ascendant native, the Saturn going into the 10th house, very rarely the right promotion or the right kind of promotion or growth comes for such people. So surely this is a watch out placement for Cancer ascendant natives. Then for Leo ascendant natives, Sun ruling the Lagna and then going in degradation into the 3rd house of effort, which means many times your efforts may not give you the right fruits of your labor, and so this is surely a slightly tricky and watch out placement. It is not a disastrous placement. All the placements I'm talking about are surely watch out placements, slightly to be careful placement for you. So the 3rd house of effort, which means many times you may not take up the right responsibilities, or you may not be able to show your complete commitment. Sometimes people may see you, your reputation may be as somebody not easy to get along. So surely this is a slightly tricky placement for Leo ascendant natives. Then Venus being the lord of the 3rd house of effort as well as the 10th house of career and going in degradation in the 2nd house of income, livelihood. So surely many times your efforts in your career may not give you the right fruits of labor, because of which the livelihood or the income may not be good enough or may not grow enough or not be able to give you the right satisfaction. So surely this is a placement where you need to be able to be very clear in your mind how much increment to ask, where to work, where not to work, so that you are not dissatisfied in your income. Many times your role may not be such a challenge, however the income may be dissatisfactory, because of which you may take those decisions, because of which your career may suffer in the long run, or you may change your career or your role only to get higher increment. Then you realize you have stagnated in the new role, though you are getting a slightly high increment. So this is surely a watch out placement for Leo ascendant natives. Then Jupiter ruling the 5th house of change, because the 5th house is the 8th house to the 10th house and going in degradation into the 6th house of service, while also ruling the 8th house of obstacles, the challenges. Now usually this is a Viparit Raj Yoga, however because Jupiter is going in degradation while ruling one Dusthana and going into the other, so this is surely a tricky placement, a watch out placement, where how you deal with competition will be very important. So here wisdom is important, keeping your patience is important, dealing with people with more wise counsel is important, and dealing with people with more softer approaches the need of the hour here. Then Mercury being the lord of the 2nd house of income and livelihood and going in degradation into the 8th house of obstacles, challenges, issues. So surely your Mercury may create challenges in how you get income because of sudden obstacles, sudden challenges, sudden emergencies also. So surely many times you may have to think twice before you make a job change, because the increment may not be that good enough, and sometimes the role may be very tricky, may be very challenging, but the growth in increment may not be as satisfactory as you want. So surely this is a watch out placement for you, especially because Mercury also rules the 11th house of wishes and desires. Then Saturn being the Karaka of career and Saturn also ruling the 6th house of service as well as the 7th house of partnership and working in a team and going into degradation into the 9th house of gains. So surely Saturn also being the Karaka of service and career, this is a tricky placement where you face inimical challenges at work, competition at work, and not able to work in a good team effort to be able to make the right gains. Now for Virgo ascendant natives, firstly Sun being the ruler of the 12th house of waste and effort, also foreign lands, working with foreign clients, working in solitary roles, working in hospitals, clinics, and going in the degradation sign of Libra and in the 2nd house of income, livelihood. So your efforts may not give you the right income, right livelihood, and many times your efforts may go to waste because it rules the 12th house of waste and excess. So be a little careful of what kind of a career move you make. Some of times for Virgo ascendant natives, it is better to work in your homeland rather than to work in a foreign company or in a foreign land with this placement, especially because many times you take higher responsibilities but you are not able to demonstrate to the superiors or the higher ups that you are deserving of the growth, you are deserving of the increment. So surely this is a slightly tricky placement. And then Venus also ruling the 2nd house of income and then going into the Lagna in degradation. So this is surely a slightly tricky placement because income may not be able to give you the right satisfaction, and you may think that you are not getting enough income where it is showing versus the stature in society that you have. Sometimes with this placement you may be in a role where others are getting more increment than you, more salary than you, therefore surely this is a placement where you may be left slightly unsatisfied. Then Jupiter ruling the 4th house of assets as well as the 7th house of teamwork, working in teams, and going in debulidation in the 5th house, which is the 8th house to the 10th house. So change coming by where your team stands by you or your team helps you to grow is also slightly tricky placement. So surely whenever you're taking a change decision or trying to change in your career or move into a new role, be careful what kind of changes you take. Be more wise and do your due diligence before making a career change. Then Mercury ruling the 10th house of your career as well as the Lagna Lord, going in debilitation in the 7th house of partnerships, teamwork, which means in your career you may make those moves which are not most conducive. There may be challenges in your teamwork, there may be less appreciation or acknowledgement also, because of which your stature doesn't do well for you or doesn't allow you to be able to showcase your demonstrate your skills well in your career, eventually leading to less satisfaction in how you are standing up in society compared to others. And then Saturn ruling the 6th house of service and then going in debilitation in the 8th house of obstacles, challenges, issues. Now Saturn does well in the 8th house because it is the Karaka of the Dusthanas. However, going in debilitation while ruling the 6th house of service. So while this is a Viparit Rajyoga, however, because Saturn goes in debilitation, so it means that many times while Saturn can be a little protective, however, you will still face a lot of issues and it won't be easy to deal with issues or challenges connected to work. So this calls for more tact at work, this calls for more wise counsel to be able to overcome challenges or issues connected to sudden issues that may crop up which you may not be always prepared for. Now for Libra ascendant natives, Lagna Lord Venus going in debilitation into the 12th house and of foreign lands, but waste and excess, high expenses also. Now Venus doesn't do too bad in the 12th house because in the Kalpurush Kundi it gets exalted there. However, going in debilitation means many times the efforts that you put in may not give you as much as income connected to how much expenses you are doing. So many times you are living either hand to mouth, or you're not able to watch your expenses, or sometimes you are spending more than what you are able to put away. So many times your savings suffer in these situations. And because for Libra ascendant natives, Venus is not only the Lagna Lord but also the 8th Lord, so this is surely a slightly tricky placement. And then Moon being the 10th Lord and going into the 2nd house of income, livelihood, savings in debilitation. So in your career you may not be able to save enough money, because of which your career suffers, or in your career you may not be able to do well enough or push enough to be able to get the desired savings. So this is slightly tricky placement for Libra ascendant natives. So you need to be very careful or put some money away somehow in long-term savings which may be useful for you in some tricky circumstances. And then Jupiter ruling the 6th house of service going in debilitation in the 4th house, aspecting your 10th house. Surely in your service and your efforts connected to service may not give you the best fruits of your labor. Sometimes there could also be, because of not getting right income, because of not getting right promotions, or because of not being able to give enough time away from your service, domestic issues also suffer. So slightly tricky placement surely for Libra ascendant natives if the 6th Lord of service goes into the 4th house in debilitation, which can be a challenge both connected to service, connected to career, but also at home. Then very important that your 2nd house of income, Mars, going into the 10th house in debilitation. So surely your income may not be conducive to how much effort that you are putting in your career, or you don't choose the right career where your income can be good enough for you. So many times it could also be that you make a few changes in your career only for a high increment or enhancement of income, and then you realize that you're stagnated. Sometimes the growth in income may not be conducive to the roles and responsibilities, so sometimes you may take time where increments are concerned, and only many times when you change the job you get the right opportunity or the right income. So usually within the organization to grow over a period of time slightly becomes tricky with this placement. And then the 10th Lord Moon going into the 12th house, but in the Virgo sign, which is the sign ruled by Venus, which is a inimical sign for it. So surely, while this may give you an opportunity of working in foreign lands, foreign companies, however, you may face competition, because of which many times your efforts may not give you as much fruits of your labor as you want or as you aspire. So surely this is a watch out placement for Libra ascendant natives. Now for Scorpio ascendant natives, the Lagna Lord Mars, which is also your 6th Lord of service, going in degradation into the 9th house of gains. Now on one side, a Kendra Lord going into the trine house is a Raj Yoga placement, strong Raj Yoga placement. Mars usually also does well in the 9th house. However, because it has gone into degradation while also ruling the 6th house of service, so surely in gains coming from your service, from your work, you may not be completely satisfied. Many times the inimical challenges of people working behind your back may not allow you to get the highest gains which are possible. So many times you have to put in double the effort, because Mars is also the planet of focus and attention, where you're putting in your maximum focus. So many times you have to work harder to be able to make gains out of your career, out of your service. Then Jupiter, being the ruler of the 2nd house of income and savings, and going in degradation in the 3rd house of effort, which means your income doesn't increase conducive to the effort that you put in. So many times you have to put in lot of hard work to be able to get good increments, and even then sometimes you may not be satisfied. And because Jupiter also rules the 5th house of change, because the 5th house is the 8th house to the 10th house, so in a change environment or where you want to make a change, it may not come easy, or making a change only for higher increment may not be conducive for you, may not be good for you in the long run. So one has to be very careful with this placement, that only for higher increment don't make a change. Do your due diligence before you take up new role. Then Saturn, being the Karaka of career as well as the ruler of the 3rd house of effort and assets, and going in degradation in the 6th house of service. So your effort connected to service may not be able to give you the best results of your labor. Now Saturn is also the Karaka of the Dusthana, so Saturn may also be a little protective of its placement in the 6th house. However, because it goes in degradation, which means while it is protective, many times your colleagues may get a growth over you, may get a promotion over you. That may lead to some inimical challenges between you and your team. So this is surely a watch out placement. So try to take credit from your work every now and then, rather than keeping quiet, because then you will be rolled over, or people will walk over you to be able to get those increments. Then Sun, being the 10th Lord and going into degradation in the 12th house of waste and excess and foreign lands. So many times the decision that you take, especially when you're working in foreign lands or foreign companies, you need to be careful that you should not be seen as being too arrogant, or being too high-handed, or being too authoritative, or not wanting to work with teams, or not wanting to work with superiors, or not having good relations with superiors. Many times the right acknowledgement or right appreciation doesn't come to you, especially when you're working for large organizations, or working for MNC companies, or working abroad. So surely this is a watch out placement for Scorpio ascendant natives. So one has to be careful of being more humble. Ability to work with people below or across is also demonstrated regularly from you, and try and work closer to the powers that be to be able to get better gains in your career. Now for Sagittarius ascendant native, the Lagna Lord itself, Jupiter, going in degradation in the 2nd house of your income, your livelihood. So here, an increment. So here you need to be a little careful, because Jupiter being the Lagna Lord and going into the 2nd house of income and livelihood means sometimes you may sacrifice your higher status or stature only to be able to get higher income or increment. Sometimes it can be the other way around also. Your income or your increments may not be conducive to what role you're playing. So sometimes you get a good designation, you get a good role, however the income that you're getting is not commensurate to the role that you're playing or the designation that you have. So many times with this placement, Sagittarius ascendant natives may sometimes struggle all their lives for high increment. Though this is not a disastrous placement, what it means is you need to be slightly more wiser, more tactful in how you ask for increments. Then your 10th Lord Mercury as well as your 7th Lord of working in team or team environment going in degradation in the 4th house while aspecting the 10th house. This means sometimes over analytical approach of yours to work and service or teamwork may end up not getting you the good fruits of labor, because of which you are not able to build assets. So many times with this placement, people may still do okay in their careers. However, they may not be able to build assets. So having all the comforts of life may not be as easy for them. It may be tricky for them. Sometimes they may work too hard and bring work home, and then the home environment can also get spoiled because of this. So one has to be a little more careful how you are approaching work, how you are approaching situation at home, and how you are keeping money away. So some saving always put away in the long run may help you to be able to build assets and build your comforts and life's conveniences. Then Saturn, being the Karaka of career and being the ruler of the second house of income, and then going in debilitation in the fifth house. The fifth house is the 8th house to the 10th house. So here it is in a house which brings change to career. So the change in career may come, but without the proper increment or income or livelihood. So one has to be more careful how you are making changes to your career, how you are approaching changes to your career. Many times you may have to take a higher role or higher designation or responsibility without getting a commensurate or proportional income in your or increment in your income. So this is slightly a tricky placement for the second lord Saturn going in debilitation in the fifth house. So be careful, because your efforts may not also give you enough growth in your career or allow you to be able to make the right changes at the right time. Then Mars, being the ruler of the fifth house of change as well as the 12th house of waste and excess, and then going in debilitation in the 8th house while also aspecting the second house of income. So this is slightly tricky placement, because the fifth house of change is going into the 8th house of obstacles. So the right changes in your career may not come at the right time, especially when trying to go abroad, work abroad, or working in MNCs. So this is surely a tricky watch out placement for you. However, Venus being the ruler of the 6th house of service as well as the 11th house of higher increments, working in large organizations, and wishes and desires coming true, and then placed in debilitation in the 10th house of career. So many times in your service you may not be able to grow enough, because of which your designation or your growth may also get stagnated. Your wishes and desires from your work in your service may not give you the complete satisfaction. Your ability to work with superiors may also be challenged, and many times it may also be that you are not able to work well with the opposite gender. Especially women may not find it easier to work with some men, not all men, but many times a woman superior or woman manager for a woman may be slightly tricky with this placement. And then if you are a man and if you have a woman superior, you need to be more careful how you approach and work with her, because there could also be, in some cases but not all, where there could also be an allegation of sexual harassment on you. So it's better to be extremely professional and not try to make more friends at work, because then you may also suffer the social stigma. And then having Mercury, the ruler of the 10th house, going in the Scorpio sign in the 12th house. Now Mercury usually doesn't do very well in the 12th house, because the 12th house is Pisces energies where Mercury is debilitated. So here Mercury is in the 12th house but in Scorpio sign. So your career may go through huge ups and downs from time to time, and one of the reasons could also be not getting enough support from your team which is working below you. So this can be slightly tricky placement for people working in foreign lands, foreign companies, or MNC companies also. So some due diligence is surely required here, not to try to be over analytical, not to be over complaining, and to be more tactical with this placement. Now for Capricorn sign natives, Capricorn rising sign natives, firstly Jupiter being the lord of the 3rd house of effort as well as the 12th house of waste and excess, and going in debilitation in the Lagna itself. This is a slightly tricky placement, which means your efforts may not give you the right fruits of labor, because of which you get growth or higher stature and status in society, and there may be waste and excess in your income because of overspending. So many times the savings may also suffer. So this is surely a placement where you have to put in sometimes harder work to be able to get higher increments and higher savings. Then Mercury ruling the 6th house of service and 9th house of gains, and going in debilitation in the 3rd house of effort. So in your service, your efforts may not be able to give you the right fruits of your labor. Your efforts may not be seen as conducive enough to be able to give you the higher growth, high income also. So surely this is a placement where you need to be more careful, especially in your communication skill, You need to be more creative, you need to be more tactful, and you have to be working harder than the others. And you may face challenges or inimical forces behind your back, so be careful and do your due diligence. Know who you can trust and who you cannot trust. Then the Lagna Lord as well as the second Lord of income, Saturn, going in debilitation in the 4th house while aspecting the 10th house. So income may suffer because of you taking it too hard on yourself, that you are not able to get the high status in society. Your income is not conducive to what role you play. So sometimes that may also create issues for you, and because of which sometimes the domestic issues may also create challenges, because of which you are not able to focus on your career. So surely, because it is both the Lagna Lord as well as the second house of income Lord going in debilitation in the 4th house while aspecting your 10th house of career, so slightly tricky placement surely for Capricorn ascendant natives. Then Venus ruling the 10th house of your career as well as the 5th house of gains as well as change in career and going into the 9th house. So overall this is a strong placement of a Raj Yoga, because a Kendra and one trine Lord is going into the other trine house. However, because the 10th Lord as well as the 5th Lord of change power goes into the 9th house of gains but in debilitation, many times your career may not be helped a lot by your educational qualification or higher degrees. So one has to be a little more careful, because many times with this placement a person may get good qualifications, however they may not continue in the line of the qualification for too long. They may start off in a service or a job or a career which is initially related to the educational qualification, higher degrees, but later on they find that they move away from it. Then Sun ruling the 8th house of obstacles, challenges and issues, and going in debilitation in the 10th house of career itself, which means sudden issues connected to not being able to work with superiors, not being able to work with authority figures could end up spoiling your chances for good growth, and last moment something happens because of which growth doesn't come in. Last moment you're expecting promotions don't come in, increments also don't come in. So this is the placement where you have to work very hard to have good relations with your superiors, with the managers that be, the powers that be, to be able to get good gains. So this is surely, these are the placements which are the watch out placements for Capricorn rising sign people. Now for Aquarius sign people, Saturn rules both the Lagna as well as your 12th house of waste and excess, foreign lands, foreign service, MNCs, working for foreign clients, and then if it goes into the 3rd house in the sign of Aries, 3rd house of effort, which means in your ability to be able to work in an MNCs, then it surely can be a problem, it can be a challenge. And your status in society may not grow as much as effort you put in your career, in your ability to work with other people, and especially connected to MNCs or foreign lands or foreign clients. You have to sometimes put in double the effort to be able to enjoy the high growth in your society or stature in society. Then Mercury ruling the 5th house of change, because it is the 8th house to the 10th house and going in debilitation in the 2nd house of income. So sometimes the change may not bring in higher status or higher status in your increments or good savings or higher livelihood. So sometimes you may make a change expecting good growth, but sometimes the change that you make may then get stagnated. Many times for many years there may not be a increment conducive to, for example, inflation or the style of life or standard of living you want. So surely this is a tricky placement for what kind of savings you have, what kind of livelihood that you are able to get, especially because Mercury also rules the 8th house of obstacles and challenges. So obstacles to higher increment, obstacles to change, obstacles to good change can be seen with this placement. And then Mars ruling the 10th house of career and going into the 6th house of service, but in debilitation. So this is one of the most tricky placements for any rising sign where career is concerned, because the 10th lord of service or career is going into the 6th house of service but in debilitation. So surely this is a work cut out for Aquarius ascendant natives if Mars goes into the 6th house, because this is also strong Manglik placement. So very important to have very good results or very good rapport with superiors, to be able to work with them closely, to be able to work very hard on your relations with your colleagues also, to be able to get better results from your efforts, because Mars also rules the 3rd house of effort. Then the 6th lord moon going in debilitation in the Scorpio sign in the 10th house of career, which means in your service sometimes over emotional or over emotionality, or not being able to keep your emotions in check, anger in check, temperament in check, may showcase you as somebody who is more tougher to work with or challenging to work with. Sometimes you may come across as too cold-hearted, sometimes too aloof, and so you may not be able to get along very well with others. Many times superiors may not see you as leadership material or strong enough. They may think you as more of a weakling. So surely you have to put in a lot of effort in your career to be able to get good income, to be able to get acknowledgements from your superiors and appreciation from your superiors. And then Jupiter ruling the second house of income, and then the 11th house of wishes and desires, and going in debilitation into the 12th house, which means many times increments or income coming from foreign lands, foreign clients, MNCs may be slightly challenging. So sometimes this is better that you either do your due diligence before you go abroad, or you keep a track of where your money is going, because many times savings may just not be remaining in your bank. Every now and then you have to break your savings to be able to spend, or that such kind of expenses come to you. So surely this is a tricky placement where you need to do your due diligence before you take up a role in a MNC company or a foreign company. So overall, still a slightly tricky placement for Aquarius ascendant relatives. However, this is a good placement where if you're working closer with authority figures, with superiors and your team members, then you can overcome or thwart the challenges coming from the appreciation point of view, acknowledgement point of view. Now lastly, for Pisces ascendant natives, Jupiter ruling the Lagna as well as the 10th house and going in debilitation in the 11th house of wishes and desires, as well as working with others, working in inter-departments or people from other departments. So many times what happens in your career, your ability to work with others, with people from other departments may also suffer, especially if the other departments are your clients. For example, if you're in admin, or if you're in IT, or if you're in finance, and your client is operations, execution team. So many times you are not able to give the right support to them, or you are not seen as giving right support to them. And so your ability to be able to grow in career because of recommendation or good points or good support coming in from related departments can be shortchanged. So surely this is a tricky placement where your status in society, your growth in society, in your career may also grow only after a lot of hard work built over a period of time. Then the 11th Lord and the 12th Lord Saturn going in debilitation in the second house of income. So your wishes and desires to get a good income or increment over a period of time from your career may also get stagnated or not come by as much as you desire, especially connected to foreign lands, especially connected to MNCs also. So surely a tricky placement. So it's a watch out placement for Pisces ascendant natives, how much effort you put in and how much you push for increment or higher growth, because sometimes this can also backfire. And then very important that your second house of income Lord Mars going into the 5th house, which is the 8th to the 10th house, while Mars also rules the 9th house of gain. So on one side, Mars being one trine lord and going into the other trine house is surely a Raj Yoga placement, but because it is also the second house of income, so in an income perspective, increment perspective, it may not be easy. Many times change in career may not come with good growth in your income. So you may take a change in career or change in role because you feel the role is good, the company is good, the brand is good, but you may either not get good increment or you may get stagnated many times where you have to work harder or push harder for increments. Then Sun ruling the 6th house of service, going into the 8th house of obstacles, challenges, problems, but in debilitation. So while this is the Vipreet Raj Yoga, because one Dusthana Lord is going into the other Dusthana, however, because the 6th Lord is going in debilitation in the 8th house, which means sudden issues, many times coming up because of you being seen as a little high-handed or even arrogant or even dictatorial, may end up giving you bad reputation, because of which growth in your career, growth in your aspirations or growth in standard or designation may not come by easily. So this is slightly tricky placement where people working behind your back or competition may thwart your efforts for good gains. Surely a watch out placement for you. Then the 5th house Lord Moon of change in career going into the 9th house of gains. Though it's on paper it is a Raj Yoga placement with one trine Lord going into the other trine house, but in debilitation, which means many times your income may not come by just because you make a change in your career, and which may not give you good gains. The increment sometimes may not be bad, however you may not be able to get the best efforts from your labor as well as your ability to be able to use your wisdom or experiential learning to be able to get good growth. So surely this is a tricky placement, especially where change is concerned, and your ability to use your educational qualification for best results. And lastly, but most importantly, because both the Lagna Lord and the 10th Lord, Jupiter, is going into the 11th house in debilitation, so your support that you get from your intra departments or other departments may be slightly lacking. So this is surely a watch out placement for Pisces ascendant natives. So friends, all these placements that we have seen are not the disaster placements or no hope placements. In fact, these are just the watch out placements for you. You need to be slightly more careful, looking at the Karaka of the planet, looking at which house they are going into, whether it is in debilitation, whether it is going in combustion, whether it is going in debilitation in the 2nd house or in the 5th house or in the 6th house it goes in debilitation, or a planet which rules the 6th house goes in debilitation in the 2nd house of increment, income, or in the 10th house of career. You need to be able to relate to these, and then from that perspective come out with the best solution. So in general, at a 70,000 feet, 3-4 things that you can do. If your 10th Lord is in debilitation in the 2nd house of income, be very careful how or what kind of increments you are expecting. If it goes in debilitation or in a challenging placement in the 5th house, be very careful of where you are making the change. Don't make a change for the wrong moves. If it's in debilitation or the 6th Lord is in debilitation, then be very careful of how you work with team members. Look at people who are working behind your back. Try and keep a good rapport with people working below you or people who are your colleagues. And then if the 10th Lord goes in debilitation in any house, be very careful what careers you are taking up and whether you are making the right career moves. And then see that if you can keep adding qualifications in your career, in our new competencies, then it's a better thing rather than to lie stagnant, because the stagnation will then come in your career. Also, your ability to work with superiors is also very important. If the 10th Lord is getting into combustion or in debilitation, or any of the goes into the dusthanas in debilitation or combustion. So friends, do keep track of and these small things that you can do, so that you don't lose track of where the growth is coming from, where the increment is coming from. These are just watch out placements, these are not disastrous placements. Doing small things can help you overcome the challenges and still do very well, and still do as well as some of the others whose placements are not as tricky or as challenging placements for you. So friend, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me, the link is given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is a friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.